Our session is actually titled Banking on Change. And we were thinking about that title, whether it should be Change of Banking or Banking on Change. So maybe you can also give us your thoughts on whether the title is a good one or not provocative enough. But actually, the idea of today's panel and today's session is to discuss and to share and to present some of the very, very useful and great cases on how financial institutions can and should and could engage in supporting development of social entrepreneurship and social investment space in general. And as we all know that the banks and financial institutions, they have a huge financial, but also human resources asset base. The banks and financial institutions do play a very instrumental role, I would say, in shaping the ecosystem for social enterprises and for the future development of social investment. And their involvement in the creating this enabling environment is crucial for the development of the market. And if we look on that market, if we take a look to see what kind of entities we have in the, let's say, a spectrum of social enterprises, we can see that we have enterprises that are operating between purely for profit or purely for impact model, but we also see social enterprises that are rising from civil society organizations and maybe contribute to the sustainable functioning of these NGOs. On the other hand, we have social enterprises that are just, let's say, organized such that they reinvest the part of their profits into some kind of a social project. Or we have social enterprises that are targeting to employ people who are, let's say, hard to employ, maybe some marginalized groups. So when we take a look on this market, we actually see that we don't have a uniform social enterprise or future social investment, but there is a variety of different kind of enterprises. And that actually tells us that these enterprises do not need the same kind of support from the banks, which brings us actually how the banks should develop their support for social enterprises. And this is where I actually want to stress that this support, and I'm really looking forward to hear the examples of this kind of a support, but what you will see and what you will hear is actually that this support is much broadly shaped than just providing a financial product, whether it's a loan, whether it's any kind of a banking product. Because as you can see, for all these different segments of social enterprises, the banks and the financial institutions can offer not only finances, which are crucial, we can all agree to that, but it's not sufficient. The banks, the financial institutions can also provide technical assistance. They can provide networking. They can provide valuable business contacts, mentoring, a lot of knowledge which is needed for the sector to grow and develop. And as mentioned, there are many mechanisms how we can, if we work with the financial institution, how we can support the development of social enterprises and impact investing market. And for example, we can, and we will hear today very good examples on providing or using traditional debt financing, or maybe some blended approaches combining access to grants, access to funds, but also access to non-financial support that can be the part of this overall support. When we mention non-financial support, we usually mean on business advisory services, business training education, but also different capacity building programs depending on the nature of the enterprise we're talking about. So just as a setting up the scene, and I will take no longer a minute because I'm really looking forward to hear our great speakers. We will try to challenge them today to share with us and to talk about how, for example, a financial institution can build a pipeline on investable projects by using existing financial products, advisory services, and technical assistance to social entrepreneurs. And I'm looking forward to hear on Vasil's presentation on for example, that aspect of support, or how can banks actually create social impact alliances? How can they develop the multi-sectoral partnerships and engage in long-term projects in order to identify, monitor, and evaluate performance of social outcomes? And on that part, I'm really looking to hear from Hanno, Johan Heath from Erste Group, who will share some of the insights even on that part. But prior to the gentlemen, I would love to hear how banks can further contribute in non-financial ways by using and aligning their internal strategies to foster the sustainable development, not only for the social enterprises, but let's say for the SMEs, for the starting entrepreneurs, and for the economy in general. And by saying that, I would really like to welcome Nora Nazarian from HSCB Bank Armenia. Nora is actually the personal assistant to the CEO of the bank, but also community investment coordinator, the person who is actually in charge of, let's say, creating, developing, but also reporting on all of these activities that the bank is doing. And I will just, prior to giving a floor to Nora, would like to emphasize and to introduce that this group has a long legacy of maximizing the positive impact on the health and the growth of the communities where they operate. And actually how they're doing this, I'm really looking forward to hear more details and maybe some of the examples from Nora. So Nora, please, can you share with us how do you actually use your internal strategy to align it with the local issues, and how do you then develop local programs which are tailor-made? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mariana, for this wonderful opportunity. It's a pleasure to be on this panel today. I would like to start with answering to your question as to why is it important to have a sustainability strategy. As an international bank since our foundation in 1865, we have opened up opportunities for our customers, our communities, and the wider society. And it's important to have a strategic approach towards sustainability in general, as we want to build a future that prioritizes resilience, social mobility, and environment alongside economic growth. And therefore, our sustainability strategy is focused on a number of priorities in which the bank can make a difference. And under this broad theme of supporting sustainable economic growth, three particular areas of focus have been identified, and these are defined as our global sustainability pillars. And they are future skills, our climate program, and sustainable finance. So through our future skills pillar, we aim to provide our customers, our communities, and our employees with the skills and the knowledge needed to thrive in the global economy. Our climate program is a 5-year philanthropic initiative focusing on identifying and scaling innovative and impactful solutions to climate change. Through our sustainable finance pillar, we are facilitating financial flows to support sustainable growth. Um, Alongside these three main sustainability pillars, we also focused on our sustainable operations, on local priorities, disaster relief, organizational training, and learning on sustainability topics. So all of this is realized through a mix of activities, whether it's commercial activity, risk management, partnerships, charitable programs, or employee engagement to support each of these priorities. And the approach is similar across the globe where HSBC has presence, and particularly in Armenia. Since our commencement in Armenia in 1996, we have been carrying on HSBC's long legacy, as you mentioned, on maximizing the positive impact for the health and growth of the communities where we operate. And we do recognize that there is a strong correlation between businesses and sustainable communities, and therefore we always act on the belief that sustainable growth is a prerequisite for a sustainable business, and our people, our customers, and the communities are key elements to this. Another factor as to why sustainability and this approach very important is that there is an increasingly growing attention from investors, from customers and stakeholders for the ESG standards, and as they use this as an evaluation criteria. I also would like to um, point out as to where social support to social entrepreneurship um, fits within our sustainability strategy. It's actually incorporated into our future skills and climate program pillars. The aim is to foster the new generations of enterprises that have a social and environmental impact at the forefront of their businesses. And we do this through partnerships, mainly with nonprofit organizations. And the three main focus areas of entrepreneurship support that we provide is support enterprises, the development of new businesses to create jobs. That's the second one would be support social enterprises to promote social and climate innovation. And another one would be support of SMEs, MMEs to transition to sustainability, sustainable business model. To give you more context regarding such initiatives, I would like to share two examples, one local and another one from our global partnerships. So in Armenia, we recently partnered with PNT NGO in scope of development prospects projects, um, which aimed at promoting and providing entrepreneurship literacy, all the skills and the knowledge needed to run social enterprises, and as a result, the beneficiary youth who were mainly from rural and socially disadvantaged youth. They ended up starting their own social enterprises in their local communities. Globally, we are currently, you might have heard about our partnership with Ashoka, which is a leading global NGO in social entrepreneurship field. This year, we launched Green Skills Innovation Challenge, which was a first of its kind competition open to social entrepreneurs across 51 countries, including Armenia. And through this partnership, HSBC and Ashoka were working together to find social entrepreneurs who were equipping um, those most in need of opportunity with green skills to drive, aimed at ensuring that transition to green economies benefits all. Basically, this was to help those previously excluded from economic opportunity to gain the skills needed to find employment or to start their social enterprises in the green economy. And lastly, I would like to also highlight that wherever possible in all these activities and partnerships mentioned, we try and provide opportunities for our employees to share their skills, knowledge, and expertise as volunteers. And I'm not sure how I am doing time-wise, but to wrap up, integrating sustainability at the heart of our strategy is a core to the bank's value. We are very proud of the achievements we've made to date and look forward to seeing the outcomes as we continue shaping the next generation of social enterprises. We are currently keen to be recognized as one of the leading financial institutions for conducting and promoting sustainable business. And thank you once again for this opportunity to have me on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora, very much. And maybe we can also share a link with where the participants can find more details, your sustainability report, which I've gladly and very happy read. It's an amazing report, so this can be additional information for our participants and more details on what you guys are doing, and you are doing really great stuff. But as you mentioned, I'm trying to slow down a little bit. Apologies for the translators. I will try to make it the speed appropriate for the translators. But as mentioned, we don't have a lot of time, but still, I would like to leave maybe a few minutes at the end for some of your final thoughts. But prior to this, we would love to hear, and greetings to Vasil. Vasil Nazaruk is actually working in the Western NIS Enterprise Fund. This is a $100 million regional fund operating in Ukraine and Moldova for the last 25 years. Am I right, Vasil? But what is the interest of us today, and we would love to hear more details on that topic. You guys actually created a special program within your fund dedicated to impact investing, targeting social enterprises, social ventures in Ukraine, and you are supporting them for the last 5 years, even 6, if I'm right. Vasil, can you please share with us what you guys are doing, and how did you actually use, let's say, more or less the existing product in the fund? So it's not something new. It's not that you needed to invent, as we would say in Serbia, hot water, but you just adjusted your processes, your products towards the needs of social enterprises. I would love to hear more details on that, and I bet the participants also want to hear, how do you do this? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mirjana, for such introduction. It was a great pleasure to me to present Impact Investing program of Western NS Enterprise Fund here in the big event. First of all, I would like to say that Mirjana briefly described all our activities, but I've just described more in details what we really do for social enterprises and what we do with commercial banks in Ukraine. Impact Investing program was launched in 2015, and we started to we thinking about we were thinking about how to support social enterprises, but without any grants. So we worked out low interest loans mechanism, especially for social enterprises who works in Ukraine at least 1 year in the market. For those social enterprises which are already profitable with formalized social goals, with formalized profit division between business and social investments and democracy governed. So the probably the general criteria in Europe in Europe. And for your clarification, and I would like to say that there are no special legislation regulating social entrepreneurship in Ukraine. It means that any social enterprise work as a small or medium enterprise. And the second point is that there is no formal definition of social entrepreneurship, or we have no legal status as a social enterprise. So there is no official statistic how many social enterprises acting in the Ukraine. So it means that we just promote what social entrepreneurship is and who social enterprises are. And you know, it was very difficult to explain what does it mean to banks, because banks generally acting according to Ukrainian legislation, and they ask, what does it mean? It's a chupacabra, you know. What does it mean, chupacabra? It means that everybody hear about chupacabra, but nobody see. It was the same situation with social entrepreneurship 6 years ago, and negotiations with Credo Bank and with Oshad Bank. Oshad Bank. It's a state saving bank of Ukraine, and Credo Bank. It's a small but very interesting bank with Polish investment. And the negotiation with these both banks took us 1.5 year, and that's why we do not have any competitors yet in Ukraine. It means that only Impact Investing program provide low interest loans for social enterprises, and this mechanism is very interesting because it's like a triangle, because potential borrower just apply to Impact Investing program and submitted different documents like business plan, evidences that this enterprise really do something interesting in social or in social sphere. For example, maybe it's a work integration social enterprise, or this is enterprise who cares about some environmental problems, etc., etc. So we require from any applicant that please show us evidences that during six last months you really did something in social sphere or for the nature. So if everything okay, we did the expertise, social expertise, preliminary solvency of this enterprise, and if everything okay, we just provide to this enterprise like a recommendation letter to go to one of our bank partner, I mean Credo Bank or Oshad Bank, and also submit all documents to this bank. And then when after passing a rigorous verification process. If everything okay, bank just approves this application and then starts this process of low interest loans mechanism. It means that we provide funding and also at least half collateral for each loan for social enterprise. It means that the conditions to social enterprises are very good. I mean that 5%, this is per annum, this is bank interest for such loans. We provide from $10,000 to and up to $100,000. It's an amount for loan, and with term up to 36 months. It means that it's very attractive conditions for social enterprises because if compare approximately the loan interest for commercial loans starts from 15% per annum, and it's very high interest for not only for social enterprises but for SMEs in general. So when social enterprise already received the low interest loan from us, we sign the agreement with this borrower that this enterprise will provide social reports on quarterly basis. It means that we want to know how the social investment work. What the social investment from Western enterprise did for society, for environmental problems, etc., etc. So, and to date, we have already provided 28 low interest loans with a total amount of more than $1 million. And we already have already received social reports with total amount of social investment in 1 million and around $1,200,000. It's much more than total amount of funded loans, and you can see now that our program is effective. We have received around 200 application forms from different small and medium enterprises. I know that not of them are social, but if we see that such enterprises would like to change something in social sphere, we just start to communicate with such enterprise, and we just suggest them to gather different records of what they really did in social sphere, and then provide to us, and we once more review this application and approve, of course, because it's really a good experience to work with social enterprises, because for 6 years we have only one default where we lost only $3,500. It's amazing, because it shows that social enterprises are very responsible. They're responsible not only for some commitments, some financial repayments to bank and etc. and they also are very responsible for target vulnerable groups, and it's very important for us. And of course, we try to expand our activity and our low interest loan mechanism in different sphere. For example, we have already received a grant from USAID. There is a economic resilience activity program in Ukraine, and we provide for this grant 3 affordable loans for social enterprises working in Eastern Ukraine. I mean, Donetsk and Luhansk region, where there is a war, unfortunately. So it's this bank, and it was very big success when our bank partners spent their own resources to publish leaflets, especially for social enterprises, where they spread these leaflets in the offices around Ukraine, and it means that we do not spend any cent for this promotional campaign, and it's for us it's a big success, because banks, commercial banks, thinking about only how to make money, that's all. And now they changed their opinion, and they, of course, they very satisfied to work with such program as social impact program of Western NS enterprise. I'm sorry, maybe my time is over, but I will ask any question. I will answer any question, if any.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasil. Thank you for all these details. I love 2 points that you mentioned. First one, actually, your comment on the nature of social enterprises, and let's say the managers and the people who are running these enterprises. I've been also having the similar experience while working in the bank. I would fully agree with you that compared to, let's say, the standard portfolio, the default rate of the clients who declare themselves as being the social enterprises is way lower than the standard businesses, which is a great argument for our colleagues in risk departments who were probably very doubtful of that fact. But also, I would also come back a couple of years back after the financial crisis. At least in Europe, we now can find out that the resilience of social enterprises, whether it's because of their model or their management, so we still need to clarify that, but it looks like that they are quite resilient compared to, let's say, the standard companies, same in the European market. Absolutely. The other thing which I really liked that you mentioned is this big investment in establishing partnerships. You just mentioned that actually, once you started to negotiate with these 2 banks who are your partners in this great initiative, it took you more than 1 year. You mentioned 1.5 years just to negotiate and to agree with that. And that is actually a great point, but also a great introduction to the next speaker and the next case. And I'm very happy, both professionally and privately, to welcome and to see my dear friend and dearest colleague, Johan Heath from Erste Group. We've been working together for many, many years. But I'm always happy to hear the update from Erste Group. Johan will share with us actually a little bit about the Erste, how is it set up in your bank, but I would love to hear also a personal opinion. What is the hardest and what is the best thing when you manage to set up these kind of complicated partnerships? So Johan, can you share with us a little bit on what you guys are doing in supporting social enterprises, but also in developing the overall social finance market in Europe, which is, yeah, couple of years ago, if we were sitting, it wasn't that good, but now it looks that it's getting better. Or is this just my impression? Johan, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Mirjana. Thanks a lot. And I just wanted to ask if you will show some slides, or I'll just talk about it.
Maybe you can just talk,
yes,
no and
problem.
Yeah, we will see if we need additional.
Yes. Oh, okay. So thanks a lot for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here and to share a little bit our story and where we came from and where we are now. And I try also not to talk too fast. So in general, like I'm working for Erste Group, which is a big savings bank, not only in Austria, but also in 6 other additional countries in Central and Eastern Europe. So, for example, in the Czech Republic, or in Slovakia, or Romania. And we, as a savings bank, we have a vast network of branches. So actually, we really deal with real people. So we are not a classic investment bank, but we really provide accounts, savings books, and loans to clients all across this region. And we thought, all right, okay, we're a savings bank, and we were founded more than 190 years ago, actually more than 200 years ago. And we thought, why were we founded back then? And the original idea, nowadays you would call it social enterprise, was that back then, not everyone had access to banking products and services. So it was not possible, or very difficult actually, to save some money, to get a loan, to create your own business, to create your own job, for example. And this was the original founding idea. And we thought we need to go back much more in that direction again. And therefore, we created a department in each of our banks locally, and in Vienna in the headquarters as well in Austria, which is called social banking. And we thought, all right, there's so many social issues in our region, challenges for people and organizations, and of course the states or communities, that we would like to focus on financing and serving special, we call them like client segments. And the first client segment, which is important for us, are people who would like to create their own job. For example, you get unemployed, don't find a new job, you would like to create your own job, just, open your own business and to create this job. And back then, if you go to a bank, the bank would say, I don't understand, the risk is too high, you're not profitable enough, you're so small, so please come back when you're successful. So we identified that kind of challenge and need locally, and started in the bank, actually in all the banks, that we finance also starting entrepreneurs. So from day 0, and not only from year +1 or year +2. The second client segment is actually microfinance. So mainly in Romania, we're financing farmers and the agricultural sector. And even originally, we were using the approach of Professor Yunus in the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. So this kind of group lending approach. And the third client segments are the social organizations and social entrepreneurs. And also here, if, for example, a non-governmental organization, an NGO, was approaching a bank and saying, our income is based on donations, for example, but we would like to get a loan to renovate our elderly people home. And the bank would say, are you crazy? In a way, like the risk is so high. And what kind of income is a donation? Or what kind of income is donation plus maybe some sales, you know, like we cannot calculate with that, you know. So, and we don't anyhow understand what you need. So we changed that. So we talked a lot with our banking colleagues. We analyzed our internal processes. We saw that, okay, how can we mitigate the risk which we have to provide a loan, because we want to get the money back, of course. So we also applied for EU guarantees. So there were EU guarantees which are offered to financial institutions so that they can take even more risk. So this is one part how we could kind of lower the risk in giving out loans. And of course, also the promise to keep the interest rates low. And then the fourth client segments actually are we call them private individuals. So this could be people like low income, could be affected by poverty, or they are over-indebted. So we have a lot of over-indebted people, of course, in our region. So how can we get them back on the foot and that they give them a fresh start? But also people who belong to socially excluded groups. For example, one big group in our region are Roma. So how to support them to create maybe their own house or to buy their own plot to become official, let's say. So to become official citizens and part of the community. So there's always some challenges in each of the countries, and depending on the country, we then go in with social banking and try to financially and then also socially include these people. And just to give you like a rough estimate, what we have done since the inception of social banking. So it's around 10 years, let's say, since we do that, even more than 10 years. So we supported in total 37,000 clients. So this is not only that we provide loans, very important, there's always non-financial support also. So what does it mean, non-financial support? This could be business training for starting entrepreneurs, could be capacity building, so to professionalize the NGO organizational processes and management, and can be also financial education for private individuals. So actually not to spend more money than you have and to save some money on the side so that you have a safety cushion and you don't need to go then to some loan shark and pay 500% interest rate, but you have some money on the side so that you can pay for, you know, when your car breaks down or the heating system breaks down, or if you want to finance the education of your children, for example. How many clients did we finance? We financed 15,000 clients so far with loans. So we provide mainly loans, no equity. And in total, we provided 380 million euros in loans. So quite a lot, I would say, for the market size which we have. And our question was, what are the current challenges also regarding COVID times, you know, the kind of not only aftermath, but during the COVID times. And we identified actually that, for example, the topic of upskilling and job creation is still very important, but even more because a lot of businesses went bust or people were kicked out. Second topic where we said we need to find solutions is affordable housing. So the topic of affordable housing is enormous. It's growing everywhere. It doesn't matter if you have a rich country or a wealthy country, less people can afford housing. Then, of course, also the social services. So this has also a lot to do with health, the health area. And in each of these areas, we try to find our position or our niche or our market as a bank. Where can we support so that the society can really get the most out of it? And just to give you an example, or maybe 2 or 3 examples, just very briefly, and Mirjana was still involved also in that product. So actually we saw that on the height of the COVID times, we saw that it was very difficult for the social sector to bridge the liquidity in that time, because there were extraordinary investments, maybe some donors, you know, were not paying anymore that much, or the donor systematic was changing. Maybe they could not sell the products, because social entrepreneurs, they sell products or services, right? So it was very difficult to get in touch with the beneficiaries. So actually we created, together with Erste Foundation, which is one of the main shareholders of Erste Bank, we created a so-called interest-free loan facility. And it's actually not 100% interest-free. And this would also speak against our approach in social banking, because we don't do things for free, but we don't get rich, let's say. So actually, for the first year of the loans, NGOs would not pay the interest. The upcoming years, they would need to pay. So we said that, okay, let's help them in this kind of one tough year of COVID, and then afterwards, then they can kind of start their activities again and can repay the loan just as normal standard loan. So this was one kind of product which we offered. Also, what we since many years are doing a project in Slovakia, for example, where together, and always together more or less with NGOs, we created a kind of a savings and loan product or facility. So where actually people from the Roma community save for 1 year, for example, money, and show us actually that they can save some money monthly. And then afterwards, we are providing a loan, so that in total they can buy a plot in their community, and together with the NGO, who is providing also the financial education, but also providing know-how how to build a house. So they also buy the material for a house, and together with the NGO, they build their own house. So they become official citizens. They can have access to all the kind of services which normal citizens can have, and they have their first time electricity, water. Children can learn, go to school, and they take care of the houses because they pay for their own house, and they build these houses themselves. So this is a really beautiful project which we have. And the question is if we have enough time, but maybe I leave the rest of the time also for questions, because I would have many more ideas and projects I could share with you.
You're definitely right. We would need so much time, additional time, and maybe this can be suggestion for future organizing. We really have a lot to share, and I really hope that these kind of examples brought inspiration and maybe some ideas to our participants. I read on the website of Western NIS Enterprise Fund that their approach is small loans, big impact. And I would like also maybe to somehow round this discussion that actually how we started with the title of this session, while we were banking on change, at least according to your presentations, we are witnessing the change of banks, whether it's a push from investors, whether it's a internal push, doesn't matter. It looks like the banks are really changing. They're changing their role, as you mentioned, how they're setting the partnerships. This is something what we can see not only in Europe, but we see these kind of trends in even big investment banks in US. But as we just heard, also in the Eastern Partnership and Russia, we have the same trends. I would just also ask all the participants if they have any questions, any comments, to put it in our chat box. We will answer these questions in the meantime. Eva, more time next time, please. As you can see, we have a lot to share, plus we need to speak a little bit slower, otherwise we would catch up. But just as a conclusion, and this is something that I heard from all of our great panelists, and additional thank you from my side for your time and your inputs, I see that there is a definitely topic of skills in the future, where also banks are very much involved. Hanno, you mentioned the upskilling process, where we already witnessing the need for the new skills. We have a very big push of digitalization, not only, let's say, for the processes in the big institutions, but we feel the big impact of digitalization even during COVID on our lives as well. Nora mentioned how much they are working with skills. Also, Vasil was sharing with us that actually they are also providing the technical skills so that we have a new transformative generation of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. And with this, Eva, I will close and give the floor back to you, and apologies that we maybe had to shorten it more than we wanted.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, it was a pleasure to listen to all of you, actually with great interest. Even though we know the Esther case, right, for long, because also we've been speaking about actually the activities of Erste Bank yesterday, but great to hear about your work, Nora, of the bank. And I'm really happy that finally I've known Vasily for some time, but we never had the chance to talk about what you do. An excellent example how I think all of you, right, how courage and motivation of very passionate people working in this industry, which is not all about the numbers, I think, as you see, but it is also about impact. And I think this passion and your engagement and commitment is actually really something that is pushing banks, financial institutions, as many people say, to move from intentions to actions. So I really thank you for that.